All right, it is 7 o'clock. I would like to call to order the Wednesday, August 6, 2025 meeting of the CCSD59 Board of Education. If I could have Secretary Eddie call the roll, please.
Bookler.
Here.
Zach. Present. Eddie present. Johnson.
Here.
Kitzinger.
Here.
Notini. Here. Chesney. Absent.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next, comments and suggestions from the public. I think I saw one person sign up. Maribel's going to get it.
Good afternoon. I just came today because I saw online that you guys maybe voted on second safety resource officer at the schools. And just wanted to express my concern about the price tag for having a police officer in school with school children's that are in ages kindergarten through 5th grade. It seems a little excessive, but you guys do have more information probably than I do. But I did just want to come here today and express that I'm a little weary on the expansion of safety resource officers in school. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Anybody else wish to address the board? Okay, if not, we can move on to the public hearing for the 2025-26 budget. If I could get a motion to open the public hearing for the 2025-26 budget.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion second. And then Mosen, if you could confirm, we just give a minute for public comment. Does anybody want to make a public comment on the budget for 25-26? Oh, sorry, we didn't vote. Okay, motion second. Let's vote to open it first.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini. Aye. Chesney absent. Bookler.
Aye.
Zach. Aye. Eddie. Aye.
Okay. The hearing is open.
So normally, what I'm used to seeing is if there is a question from the board, if there's anybody in public who has a question, and if there is no question, then we close the hearing, and then later on at the action time, I do the presentation. I can do it anytime you want me to.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it later when it's on the agenda, so we can.
Can I ask a question just about the public hearing? So this would be the time for anyone from the community to come and, based on the publicly posted budget, to ask any questions. Okay, and I thought I read how it's publicly posted. There's a notice in the newspaper. Don't know if anybody looks at that. And how else is it communicated that the budget is on display?
Our website, public notice is the requirement. Website is the additional board effort to make sure information is communicated. Typically in most school districts, when the budget is put on public display, after 30 days at the next scheduled board meeting, public hearing, as well as adoption. So we have like a three-step process.
Okay.
I just wanted to.
Just an observation or just a suggestion, because I've been, a parent and coming to the board meetings, and I've spoken at several of these public hearings, as there used to be a lot more activity. Maybe it's a good sign that there's not. But I just would like to see there be, like, we have all these other ways we communicate, social media, whatever. I'd like to see this be publicized, because I just think people aren't aware. And if, they're not necessarily digging into the website, they're certainly not looking at the newspaper. So if we can just, publicize it the way we do a lot of other things, and we're proud of our budget and our fiscal responsibility. I think it's something we should, that we should be celebrating. And it's just something I'd like to just say, well, we have the whole board here, for next year. It's too late now, but that let's, whatever way that we can advertise the budget is great. But for this public hearing, I would like to hear from the community if they.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I agree. So like an email communication or something along those lines.
Sure, just like we do with so many other things.
Maybe it was, I don't know if it was, we sent out the board updates. It might have been mentioned in there
It wasn't the board.
in like a item. Okay. All right. Anybody else? If not, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
And I'll second.
Okay, move to second, roll call.
Kitzinger,
Aye.
Notini,
Aye.
Chesney absent, Bookler,
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Eddie, I, Johnson.
All right. All right, the public hearing is adjourned. Back to our regular scheduled meeting. Back to you, Mosin, the board presentation for the 2025-26 budget. And Mosin, I don't know if you want to maybe, we didn't have a board meeting last month. Maybe you want to introduce yourself to the public briefly.
So, I'm doing a presentation on the budget for the year, and this is my first board meeting, so that's my first. The budget of any school district is really not a financial document only. It is in alignment with the goals, objectives, the strategic plan of the school district, which is developed based on input from the community with community stakeholders. So we want to make sure that what we are presenting over here aligns with the values of the community based on the input. And I'll be doing this because I don't have my, so I'm going to, because there's so many slides and I wanted to make sure I don't take out everything which we were doing. So I'm showing that, but not spending too much time on it. So that's just a schedule. I think you may have the old presentation.
Mine looks a little different.
Yeah, this is an old presentation. I took out that schedule, that's why I remember that, so. Yes, okay. As you can see, the calendar is out. I'm trying to limit, but I'm also providing more so on this slide, the key point is it's a very stable school district with a relatively healthy fund balance. Fund balance gives you the stability. Fund balance does not give you an ability to keep on spending money if you're not collecting enough money. And that's the key thing. Operating deficit, you always want to be in surplus and you always want to have fund balance. So those two things. Next slide. We are a school district very well supported by our community. Close to about 86% of our revenues come from local sources, 79% from local property tax. And we're fortunate that in our community, the taxes paid are not just by the homeowners, but businesses. And good thing about getting taxes from businesses, the services are not provided to the businesses. They don't have children coming in, so there is no cost. So anytime you have a good balance of commercial, real estate, industrial, and homeowners, and the higher the mix, the better it is for everybody. And I'm not saying we don't want homeowners, but what I'm saying is it makes it financially feasible to provide good level of services. So very good. Because you have a strong tax base, the state will always scale back because state funding is local means tested. And federal government, till an extent, is based on identification of students' need and a certain criteria such as special education, low income, and those dollars are strictly targeted for those programs only. So they're very restrictive and supplementary funding. So good position to be in. I said the same things, but there is in the middle of the page I want you to focus on because I mentioned about 86% local. The growth in local property revenues for the school district, which is really our main lifeline, is only growing at 2.9% plus any new construction. This community is strong in new construction, but not strong enough in the long run where you could says we can afford anything. So that's why I want to make sure I give my conservative colors by being very careful when it comes to spending money. Also, in the last 5 years, we had the best education funding outside the community resources through the state and federal government. You've heard of ESSER. ESSER is gone. That was done with. We made sure we didn't get into the reoccurring cost cycle where you get in trouble. So we did the right things for the ESSER funds. One unusual fund which all of us, and especially our school district, benefited was the corporate personal replacement property tax. In 2023, it was 15.3 million. It actually went from a very low number of close to about 5-6 million to 15 million. And I knew it because I've been around that this is not going to last too long. And it could be the COVID booming economy, but it wasn't really COVID booming economy only. There was a major calculation error at Department of Revenue where money got directed to local government, schools, villages at the expense of the state of Illinois. It took them some time to catch that mistake and they start clawing back that money. So what you see at $5.8 million, this one is the last correction we've been told. It's coming down every year because the state wanted to make sure that they don't recover the money in 1 year. Now for us, because of our fund balance, it would have been all right, but a lot of school districts are very dependent on those resources. We are one of those fortunate, very rare fortunate that we don't charge fees for all those things we provide beyond the mandated service. So once again, a very unusual situation. Interest earnings are stable. One of the reasons we saw growth in our interest earning is because we had a very artificial low 0.1%, which is close to nothing, to like 4 and 5%. But we are seeing a slight decline. And if you see a decline, and then we are also investing money in our capital in properties like building improvements and so on, the fund balance declines. So if you will see that our interest earning is declining two ways. One is the investable capital comes down and then the rates are coming down, but not to a point where you get overly worried about it, but just be aware of it. I wanted to visualize the CPPRT history when I said is we're going back to normal. So before that escalation, you can see the normal was a much lower number. School districts where I was consulting and helping, I said is bank everything. What's the difference between regular and just save it for the rainy days? We may not have the same motivation because we had a relatively stable fund balance, but this was a mistake. We don't want the state to be in a bad situation also. So we accept that the correction was made and that's fine. And we are fine in 59 because of that correction. So that's not a problem. But that was one of the best revenue growth for a lot of school districts. And that won't happen again. So the reason I'm saying that is going forward, every school district will face a challenge. We also will face a challenge, but we have the internal resources to last longer. That does not mean we should not watch out for how we spend the money. This is our interest earning. Because I talked about CPPRT and interest, I just wanted to give you, I would scale back some of that. One of the things you need to know is this budget is no different than what was provided, and there was no changes made. I verified the revenue side, and there is only one line item where I was not able to document, which was like $2 million worth of property tax abatement, like more additional resources to the school district. So I'm keeping my eyes open if I come across it, but that was the revenue item I wasn't able to verify, but I verified the other stuff. And there is plenty of time during the year if we need to keep an eye on it. And once again, because we have the fund balance, not realizing what was budgeted, obviously that's a concern, but not a issue for us in terms of a challenge. So revenue highlight assumptions, state, I mentioned earlier, is giving us 11%. Because we are a resource, well-funded school district, any new money coming from the state goes to the needy school district. Only 0.1% is given to all the tier 4 school district, which is close to nothing. But whatever few dollars you may get from the state, they claw back much more of that money in mandated categorical funding, which is like, let's say, transportation reimbursement. The transportation reimbursement, for example, for special ed used to be 80% of your actual cost. And special ed is fairly expensive transportation because it's not a 72 passenger going in a subdivision picking up 30, 40 kids per bus. It can be 1 or 2 students, it could be 4 or 5 students. So it becomes the state makes sure that there is a reimbursement known as mandated categorical reimbursement for those services. So right now, we are estimating close to about, instead of 80%, that 80% has been prorated to close to 60%, which means 48% reimbursement. So we will be paying close to about 50+% of the cost. And that's a challenge because the state can give a few dollars, but they're taking much more back. And I'm not criticizing the state over here, it's just that they have to balance their budget. So that's why we have to manage our resources prudently. The federal funds are really for targeted population, can only be used for those. And you cannot, there is something known as maintenance of effort, which means is even if you make a budget reduction, you cannot do those reductions because those first go to the federal government and they are targeted for students. This is just an explanation. I won't spend too much time on it because you see those terms. So save that slide if you want to. And when you see purchase service, people get confused. What is purchase service? If it's not supply and if it's not equipment, it's purchase service. Electric bill is a purchase service because you're not buying supplies and you're not buying equipment. Transportation contract payment is purchase service. Special education tuition is purchase service. You saw the source of funding, but for revenue, so now we talk about expenditures. The big difference between all funds and operating fund, and I normally always focus on operating funds, because if you're spending too much money at one time, either the community gave you bond money and you're doing construction, or you by choice at a board meeting said is, we're going to use part of our fund balance to renovate a building. So the test is to see how you're spending the money on an annual basis from annual revenues. And you always want to make sure that your revenue is more than your expenditure, because you never want to go deplete your fund balance, at least by choice. So this is how are you spending the money. Close to about 75% of the money is for salaries and benefit. Some portion of purchase services is still for the benefit because there are some things which we spend money on are not considered benefit, but they're still like workers' compensation insurance and things like that. Tuition payment when we make to special ed co-op or residential facility, it's not necessarily just purchase service, but we are not providing that service internally because of special needs situation, but we are buying the service, which includes mostly instructional services. So when somebody says, well, if you want to balance the budget, then cut down capital expenditure outside the special construction, only 1% of the money is spent on capital outlay. That includes computers, and computers have two categories. One is the other objects, because if it's less than a certain threshold amount of money, they're not considered capital outlay. So one of the things when we do expenses, there are things which are already known and there are things which are unknown. The staffing is literally, Ross and his team does a fabulous job of giving us the list of people, what their costs are. The business office does not determine this, but they should be paid. It's a agreement, it's the market-driven wages. And one of the things we have is right now, based on the shortage, there is always competing for talent. And especially when you are a school district with resources, people want to come to the school district. So you're able to attract the best and the brightest, because I've helped some school districts where they have 20% turnover every year, which is very challenging, but people get experience. They go to school districts which provide better compensation. Briefly, I told you about our revenue growth of 2.9. And the biggest challenge is the second largest line item in any school district is health insurance. And you can see that health insurance, it is on a long-term basis close to about 8% growth in the last few years. You cannot keep on sustaining yourself if your salaries and benefit, and mostly benefit, could go significantly higher than CPI. And when we say a CPI rate of 2.9, that 2.9 is 79%. The other dollars are constant. Like CPPRT actually is a decline and going to be constant. The state is on a slight decline. The federal government is constant or a slight decline, and could be even more challenged down the road. We don't know that yet. So even the revenue growth is not going to be at 2.9. It's going to be 2.9 times 0.79 from my perspective, provided we don't lose any money from state and federal sources. So how do you keep your operating expenditure less than that, especially when things like healthcare is going up significantly and you are not big enough in 59 to control the insurance cost? The wages for the instructional staff as well as all staff members are market driven, and the contracts are not going to be at 2.9 or 2%. So that's always going to be a challenge. So we do whatever we can to contain cost everywhere else. And utilities, we are not big enough to control that either. But we want to make sure we use less electric wherever possible, having LED lighting, having electric purchase cooperative, and solar is sold as a saver, but depending on how it's configured. For a small school building, it's not the same thing as a large high school with a huge roof or a play field where you can put solar, like a solar farm. So many times people, well, why are you not installing solars on your roof? That's really not the solution. And we'll talk about that at a different time. So the challenges are there. So I'm sharing that with you. And we're fortunate we are able to keep our food service cost at 2.9, which is really linked to the CPI of food CPI, which reflects really the same CPI. So that's fortunately good, because sometimes the food CPI a few years ago was much higher. And other purchase services, we talked about special education billings in terms of private tuition, special ed co-op. And because those are all labor intensive, and if the salaries and benefit are going higher, they will go up higher than CPI. We also are very proactive, and we want to make sure we provide safe learning environment for our children. And our buildings are kept updated. And what I've been visiting, and I always see the superintendent there at the Tuesday's meeting, and I'm not making as many meetings as you are based on my schedule, but by the way, that's very unusual that you've spent so much time on it, so that's a very big deal. I think they're getting the message that buildings are in good shape, very good shape in the school district. And I'm comparing it because I'm an outsider. For a while I can say that you rather than us, because I'm giving you really what a great job the school district has done, and you guys have been the leaders at the governance level and approving those. We have in our budget plans for purchasing 2 maintenance vehicles, and then we talked about the Brentwood and John J. Mobile. Expense highlight, like we wanted to give you example. This 2% in transportation increase is very relatively very low. I usually see transportation bills going up 5, 6, 7%. They've had, some school districts have experienced 7, 8%. So that's very unusual. So it's very unusual, let's put it this way. Another thing which is very fortunate is that we will be debt-free by FY28. Now, I'm saying some of those things because this is very, once again, very unusual. Our IMRF employer rate, from my perspective, is slightly higher, and that's experience-driven. So depending on the timing, if you have too many people retire, the rate becomes higher. If people are not retiring, the rate will be lower. Social Security rate is constant, but that doesn't mean it's not increasing. It's still increasing. That line item will increase because the wages are increasing at a higher rate than CPI. So all of those things are usually at higher than CPI. Capital projects I talked about. So dollar-wise, Brentford addition of 15 million. Everything, when I talk about those dollars, I'm very impressed that it's on time and under budget so far. So that's very impressive. One of the things about when people talk about giving monthly reports, I usually try to keep the construction projects out on a monthly report basis. What we normally, my experience has been, sometimes in October, after everything is paid and done, we do a report for summer construction, which really overlaps 2 fiscal years. You're paying bills in June, and you're paying money for construction which took place in July and August. We've had, in my experience, I've had where the roof project at a large building was supposed to start first day after school was over, and it rained for 10, 15 days, 20 days, and everything got shifted. So we saved money in one fiscal year and spent more money in the other. But in reality, it's a summer project. So it is our expectation that Albert, our team, will do a presentation how much was budgeted, how much was spent, and what we got out of it. And that will be later in the year, close to about October, November, around that time. This number, I have a difficult time reading it from there, but one of the things I didn't want to give you is a budget in isolation. So I wanted to go back, and I've used, one of the things I'm going to be sharing with this board is a monthly report redesigned, and I'm leaving the old report with you and making sure that you have give me an approval before I unilaterally change it. But one of the things I want to do is, when we have key people in the business office working on financial records, they don't spend too much time providing reports if it's done manually. If it's done automatically, that takes care of taking care of the governing body, providing the oversight, providing relevant information. So the reports I'm going to share with you later on, which is for you to review to see if this gives you everything you're looking for, and replace the manual reports which we produce. And I've included the manual report also. So this is, once again, we are able to produce reports through automation for historical expenditures, current expenditure, and later on, after the budget is locked, after everything is done, school opening, then we'll do the 5-year projection. So that's a cycle, and then we do the levy and so on, and then we start the next year's budget cycle. So you have all the information. Now, and later on when the numbers are big, I'll talk about it, but you'll see different slides. This says operating fund only. And I want to make sure that we are always balanced. So we are balanced, but I'm not overly delighted that it's a very low margin. And I don't see a tremendous amount of revenue growth there. And if the expenditure growth is there, and if it becomes unbalanced, which means is we need to watch how we spend our money. There's a clue there what I'm saying. So that's the key slide later on if you want to preserve that for the future, as to we want to make sure we stay sustainable. We have good balance to give us time, but I don't want to even buy too much time. So whatever we can, we'll try to see if we can economize. Next.
Mohsen, can I just ask a question? What are we looking at here? Are you saying this is manual? Or is
This is, if you
automatic?
look at, this is the whole years, and if you look at the second last row, and I'll read it from here because my eyes are not, yeah. So if you look at the second last row, you're looking at operating revenues of 139. These are operating when I say, because I'm not including debt service and I'm not including construction expenditures, because those are one-time expenditures. That our operating expenditures are 139,827, which is the third last row, actually. Okay? That's our revenue, sorry. And our expenditures are 139,409,410, which leaves you with operating surplus of 418,000. I'm usually normally used to seeing those in millions. And we were doing that. If you go left, we were like in 22, $4.3 million. So if you see this trend, it is not a good trend to be in. But if you look at the bottom, it's still stable, but it's declining. And the next page, if you see, because if you look at the revenue, it just gives local. So the next page gives a little more detail if you really want to dig into it. So what's local? So the largest component is other local property tax. It's the same information, it's just slightly more amplified. And this focuses strictly a full page on, first one was revenue and expenditure and give you the surplus. The other one is all revenues and it breaks down the revenue, not as much in detail as what you would used to see in the legal budget, which is on public display, by the way. Then the next one is expenditure, slightly more detailed than what you saw on the first page, but not as much in detail as what you would see in a legal budget because it's a PowerPoint presentation. Then this is for all funds. Now, when you see a deficit in all funds, I am not overly concerned about that one because we deliberately said is we'll use our fund balance to do construction. So that's why I focus mostly on operating funds, because a recommendation to use fund balance for would be based on if we are financially stable, we have enough fund balance. And if there's a need, we'll fund it internally rather than asking for our taxpayers to pay more money. The second last page, I'm skipping that because it's similar but slightly more with all funds detail. This page, you remember I talked about 418. I amplified it so you can see that. And when you see surplus in some funds and not in others, that's how we do our levy. So it doesn't matter that we're spending too much money in transportation. Is this why we are negative? Because we like to keep more money in education fund because that gives you the most flexibility, and working cash is another fund which gives you the most flexibility. And the more money you have in working cash, you can give any fund where there's a need for it.
And
So
you said with the transportation, because the state is reimbursing less, so that's why that we might have a
right,
deficit.
right. So, and that's we will be looking at all expenses. So bottom line is, I just wanted to give you an overview because when I was starting, that's a very rich school district. You don't need to ever worry about watching expenditures. And I've always worked in very rich school districts and I always watch expenditures. So we will be watching expenditures. But we also want to make sure people are aware of it and make people aware of it.
And Mohsen, can I just call out the capital projects where we see a deficit, that's, we're drawing down our fund balance to fund our
By
capital
choice.
projects and not issuing any debt.
Exactly. And in other words, you did the right thing. You had the fund balance. And what you said is, we're not going to ask the taxpayers to fund it through a bond issue. And we will, by choice, plan a reduction in our fund balance to pay for school improvement, which is, once again, very unusual. So you've done all the right things, at least what's in your control. I'm open to any questions. I've been doing this for a long time, so I may not have the school-specific information, but business-specific information, I can answer any questions. And I know this is not the adoption time. Like I said, this is very unusual to have 3 months of thing, but I'm open to any questions. And we'll do, I hope we don't have to do the whole presentation, but we'll do the same presentation again.
I just want to say thank you. This was very beneficial and it really explained more in detail of what what we're using our money for.
Thank you. I'm done.
Any other questions?
Actually, yeah, no, I have, of course, I have a few. I'll be quick. Again, wanted to thank you so much for jumping in with 2 feet at a critical time, right? When the budget is up and to be adopted. I just had a question on page 16 of the, of what you just presented. It's the expenditure budget summary for the education funds. I'm just noticing the pattern, pretty significant increases in purchase services, supplies and materials. Is there, I just wonder what that's based on. What assumptions are behind that? Or are there specific contracts behind that increase?
I asked Ron as to how he got those numbers, and in a institution like ours, everything is driven through departments and curriculums need. And what would happen is, one of the things when I spoke to especially in the instructional area, there could be initiative, and not only I want to know the initiative as to one time, but when we're doing projections, we don't want to build based on one-time expenditure and take it down. But right now, I don't have specific information about what's in there, but we can get to that information.
Sure. Yeah. Ron talked about it a little on his last meeting. We talked about how the departments come in, but I'd like to understand why is it more? Do we need more? Is there, a certain increase from a vendor that's driving it? But okay. And just a few others unrelated to those. Just going back to the federal funding and, some, concern over, how, if that's going to be maintained. Can we, in your opinion, if you know this already, can we afford to absorb costs currently covered by federal funding? Should it be depleted by, government action?
Well, that depends on the values of the school district. Many school districts, when we were looking at $0 coming through, I have yet to come out, district said is we're not going to spend the money on those programs.
Right. We'll allocate.
Because everything you do, you're going to provide special education no matter what. Chapter 1, which is like low income remedial thing. Eventually, if you don't do it, it costs you more money. So when schools, from my perspective, I'm a finance person, when they're spending money on curriculum and improving the learning process, eventually in the long run, they're saving money, because otherwise it will continue, or this community at large or the state or the nation is benefiting also. So I call that an investment, but in terms of academic return, in terms of federal program, I've always been a supporter of special ed. I've been a supporter of, that's where most of our federal resources are. And I'm sure no matter what happens, we will be funding all those things, even if and federal government, by the way, just for your information, and I was in special ed co-op for 9 years of my first 9 years, had made a commitment for 40%. And even when they had zero debt during Clinton's administration, their commitment was 15%. So it was supposed to be a partnership between state, federal, and local funding. And the state and federal are really backed off. It's all local, but the mandated are all federal. And that's because people support special education and they'll do it. So.
And just to continue on that, we make payments to NSSEO, so that, is that another, I guess I'm not sure exactly what percentage of their funding is federal?
NSSEO, usually when they get the money, in the old days, when I was in the special ed co-op, we would bill the school district the net cost, keep the federal funding. Now the state requires that school district flow through, and that's why it's known as flow through. So they flow through everything to the school district unless the board of directors, which represents the school district, agree that 2 or 3% money can be retained for things like professional development, which benefits everybody, and individually, school districts may not be able to do it. I'm not sure if I'm speaking out of turn, but
No, the money flows through the districts to the co-op, so they don't receive that
Yeah.
money directly.
Sure, I'm just wondering if the ask from NSSCO will grow if federal funding, or is it's coming through us first and then we send it to
Right.
them?
So what will happen is, if we'll have less money from federal, but we'll probably be replaced with local. And frankly speaking, reading everything, I don't think some of those programs will be slashed. People talk about it, but it is such a strong, just like I'm hearing about healthcare, there's so many legislatures who are changing their mind on some of those things. So,
Okay, that's good to know that you think that.
but I'm not an expert. So.
Right, but it's good. We've heard a lot of noise and then it's calmed down a bit. Thank you.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. I really appreciate it. Thank you for stepping in and providing your expertise. So I think the big takeaway is, like you alluded to, we've got a lot of business funds. We've got the largest industrial park in Elk Grove Village, so we're really fortunate to that in the entire country, largest industrial park, but also to be good fiscal stewards and watch our spending as well. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mosen.
So I passed the test, right?
A+.
Okay, next we have superintendent reports. The first is the spring benchmark presentation.
All right, good evening. I'm excited to be here tonight to share our spring 24-25 benchmark presentation. Normally we do this in July. We didn't meet in July, and I actually like the August timeframe just because it really kicks off the new school year and really sets the targets that we'll be working towards for this upcoming school year. As always, I'm going to thank some people on the front end because I usually either forget at the end or squeeze it in. So Tricia Senni and Corey King, our assessment team, is a huge part of the analysis and developing this. And of course, because we've had another very successful year of growth, we want to thank our kids for their efforts and hard work, our teaching staff, our interventionists, our certified staff, our support staff, everyone for the work they do with the kids. It really adds up and makes a difference. And of course, our building and district administrators for supporting that process. So with that, we will jump in. So I know we talked a little bit about updating the strategic plan, but back in 2019, we set the strategic goal using 80% as the KPI. So we want 80% of our students to be at the 25th percentile or above. That continues. Over the years, in addition to that key performance indicator of 80%, we've also looked at achievement, where we want to compare as well or better than iReady national averages. We want our typical and stretch growth to meet or exceed iReady targets. And we want our students in interventions to gain a minimum overall of 4 percentage points in reading and math. And in most areas, we've hit all of those goals this year. So let's jump into this wonderful slide. I love this slide just because when you look back to, all right, Ben, I'm going to try it. There we go. The fall of 21-22, we were in the 60s on the KPI side, whereas we did last year at 77.6 for math and 72.5 for reading. Reading had a 4% percentage point growth over the year, and math had 2. So, really a huge celebration to see that amount of growth over the last 4 years, and really expect it to continue. So let's talk a little bit more about reading. So here's our reading data. You can see we started the fall at 68.5%, ended at 72.5. That's that nice 4%. This is really huge over here when you look at we moved 2.5 percentage points out of tier 3 and down the road. And 1.5 in tier 2. So our kids are moving into the green, into tier 1, exactly the goal of the program and what we want to do. This is just a quick summary slide. If you go into the actual full report, which it will be included to the community, it's pages like 40 to 45. That includes the details. But there are 42 data points on here, 39 increased over the course of the year. whether that's grade level, schools, demographics, race and ethnicity. So we really saw a ton of growth over the course of the year.
Tom, can we talk about
Yes.
Brentwood and Holmes? We've got big school, increases there.
Yes. So yeah, if you want to highlight a couple of the schools, Brentwood
Sure.
had a nice 8.4% increase from fall to spring in reading, and Holmes 9.9. All of our schools increased, actually, yeah, at very different rates. But again, a lot of it's driven by where did they start, and then everyone works hard and how that functions and plays out through the system. I can't tell you that Brentwood did this different or Holmes did that different, but we know they really saw some growth and success over the course.
Do we ever try to target a
Sure.
school to see what, are you doing something different? Maybe
Sure.
we can spread the
I
word.
think some of the things we can see. So to be really blunt and honest, as a reminder, Brentwood had a major change in their enrollment attendance area. So a number of students shifted out from Brentwood to Devonshire, which likely impacted some of the results, not all, but some, because that new attendance area included a lot of newcomers. So we do dig into that piece. That's, obviously they're still doing great work and seeing great growth. But when you start to see shifts in kids, you can see swings pretty significant one way or the other. We didn't go down to the granular level but at the same time, I think they've implemented a lot of additional work with the newcomers they have in the building, ESL resources, their interventionists. They've really got a nice system running. When I think about Holmes and the things we've looked at with Holmes, they really focused on working on the interventions for kids and kids practicing through the iReady system. I think they really led the district in the amount of minutes and time in iReady. So when kids practice reading and math, usually they do better in reading and math. So definitely those are two highlights that jump out at me when I think about that. Great question. So then this is the slide that really breaks out all of our different English learner programs. You can see kids would be in multiples of these likely, but you can see how that flows across the board. Again, a great example when we talk double-digit increases at the junior high level, and our newcomers also. So obviously we want to increase that KPI, but when we start seeing double-digit increases over the course of the year, it really shares and shows a lot. And actually every single one of these categories showed an improvement from the spring to the fall to the spring, excuse me. So now let's talk math. So math, we started at 75.6 and ended at 77.6, a nice 2 percentage point increase. And again, really kids moving out of tier 3 and down into tier 2 and tier 1. So another great example of growth in our work. 34 out of 42 categories showed up here improving. I think what we're finding, to be honest, with math is that our proficiency is increasing at a level that we're not able to see as much growth. Of these categories, I gotta check it here, 13 of these categories actually are above 80% of our target. So when you start talking about growth at certain levels, that gets hard once you get into the upper 70s and 80s, but we still saw some great growth across the board. To highlight, Frost, I think, led the way on the elementary side. Our grade levels, 7th grade, which is a tough grade, really flying kindergarten, some really great, our multilingual learners, really good stuff across the board. Again, these are small incremental pieces because, again, we're talking about the 25th percentile and above.
Did Claremont just not was it even?
Even, yes,
Okay.
that line, that's a great
Okay.
question. That where they started the year, they ended the year. And again, I think these are like 49 to 54. If you really want to see the actual numbers and data, you can dig into those. But we want to make sure we highlight them. And again, on this side, this is all of our EL programs and how they improved over the course of the year. Really every group, but just to explain, not to highlight, but our denied services, remember it's 26 kids. So that's a family who decided we do not want any EL services, even though we qualify. Small groups like that, 1 or 2 kids can swing that data way up or way, way down. All right, let's talk proficiency, achievement. So this is our reading data for over the course of the year. When we look at the spring, What's nice about this data, we can compare to Illinois and to the nation. You could see about 275,000 kids in Illinois take iReady reading and about 6.4 million in math. And then you can see how we compare. A little bit behind in the state when we talk about the green, but a little bit ahead of the nation when we look on those pieces. Then the data evens out pretty well across the board. Again, we want to compare as well or better than the nation. And here I would say we've met that goal. This is just basically the same data, but we love to share visuals to really show where we started the year at 28%, we're the blue, and we ended at 54% of our kids who were meeting the green, in a sense, meeting on grade level or above. You can see when we were back, we were at 23% 4 years ago and 49. Really you see that shift and that change. And then how that shakes out across with the state and the nation. And while we don't like talking about being below grade level, we recognize that's a huge piece of the work we're doing. So we want to share that data and show that data also. So this shows kids who are 2 and 3+ years below grade level as a system. You can see this year we started at 36% of our kids and are ending at 22. 4 years ago, we were at 40 when we started the year and ended at 24. So again, even just over the course of the year, we're able to really decrease that piece. I think that's 14%, which shows a lot about the work our classroom teachers are doing, our interventionists are doing, all the supports that are happening across the district.
But just going back to looking at previous springs, we're pretty flat.
Yeah, in a similar, you could see the year before we were at 23, we were at 22, we were at 24. So we're right in that similar range from previous years, correct. So this slide, I love this data probably more than any data. It's kind of hard to say you love data, but what's awesome about this is it allows us to look at grade levels. Unfortunately, iReady Not Yet gives us data on demographics and ethnicities, but we get the grade level piece. So what we can do is say, how did our kindergartners do, 570 kindergartners doing compared to 681,000 kindergartners in the nation. So we both started in a similar place, about 4%. For the district, 5% were in this mid or above grade level. We ended at 45%, the state at 48%. And you can see how that flows across. What's really interesting with this data, if you look through the grade levels, as we start to build from kindergarten, first, second, it starts to get to the point where you can see like in 3rd grade, we're at 10%, but then 15, we're 1% off. 5th grade, we're at 13, and then we're passing them up. So over time, I think we really believe if we have our kids over time, we're going to catch up. And then the flip side of that is the kids who are below grade level. Again, like if you look at 3rd grade, this one right here, we started at 20% of our kids 3 grades or more below grade level, but we cut it by 10%. Whereas not focused on the state or the nation, they started at 16 and got to 9. Wonderful, but not as much as us.
Can I ask what kindergartners are doing on iReady reading?
So it's very similar types of assessment. Obviously, it's grade level driven. Why you won't see below grade levels for kindergarten and 3rd grade, they haven't been in school long enough.
I'm just surprised to see it at all.
Yeah. So actually,
iReady.
it's a very similar assessment. I know we've heard some feedback from our kindergarten teachers about are they ready? We've actually this year we're going to delay just a little bit the kindergarten assessment to give kids a little more time to settle in. But at the same time, we know kids are very technology based, savvy, and can do the work. And the data, this is a very helpful piece because you could say, oh man, is our data off? Well, compared to the nation, it's not really off. It's very similar. So when we compare to almost 700,000 kids, we must be pretty good. So yeah, and just to highlight the 4th and 5th grade, again, we saw some really nice decreases over time. Then when you build on that and get to the junior high, now it really starts to play out where in 6th grade, we're starting even, again, finishing ahead. 7th grade, starting even, finishing ahead. Starting a little bit ahead and finishing even. But again, sharing a lot about, we're getting a little more growth out of our system over the course of the year compared to the nation. And then where we're starting with 3 or more below and ending. Again, we're outpacing, we're cutting that gap just a little bit more than what the nation is seeing, which tells us we're on track and we're doing what we need to do.
Tom, are we showing the same data with Illinois?
We unfortunately don't get that data for Illinois. So this is only the nation. The best they do is really that kind of big picture general piece that they're able to share with us. And then this is a slide for reading, which really shows, again, all of those programs of where we start and where we finish. You can see we start in, some great examples. I'll kind of focus in on the elementary, where we're starting in the 8, 4, 1, 2%, and really getting at least to double digits across the board. And then we're starting with some pretty big numbers and being behind, and again, cutting those pretty significantly. A great example when I look at ESL 6th grade through 8th grade. So that's basically our entire EL program at the junior high. Started at 1%, got to 4%. When you add these two together, we started at 3 and got to 13. So a nice increase. Yes, these are big numbers over here. Obviously, the longer you're in school, the farther behind you can fall. But again, we're cutting by almost 20% some of these where kids are starting and when they're finishing. And you have to realize too, if you're in middle school and ESL, it means you're likely a long-term EL learner also. In our district, at least, you've been in the program a long time. So we've done a ton of work, really focused on that, and are cutting those numbers. Let's talk math. So again, whereas we've celebrated for a number of years now, we're outpacing the state, we're outpacing the nation. And really aligned with the updated national norms that no districts are really aligning with, but we are in math. Really a function of that longer term view. Are we in year 5? Year 5 of math we're going into? Going into year 5 of math, and you see when you really have that consistency, the impact and that it can have. Again, similar slide, where do we start, where do we end? And how does that compare to the state and the nation? Here's that 2 and 3 or more below. So again, we started at 40% 4 years ago. This year we're at 31, got down to 15. Last year it was 16. The year before it was 17. The year before it was 20. So chipping away. Again, we could pick a grade level. I'll just highlight one. Someone say a grade level.
3.
Grade 3. All right. So grade 3, you can see where we compared. We're just a little bit behind at the start of the year, 3 to 4%. Grew about the same rate, 26 to 28. You can see here on the kind of early on grade level, we had a nice increase, about the same. So we're pacing along pretty nicely. When you look at the 3 or more below, we really cut it down to 4%, which is, impactful. When you start now or going into the next year, it's 4%. Here it's 6. It's 9. When we jump to the junior high, again, you start to see that shift where now we're outpacing, starting ahead, ending ahead, starting less, closing more. Just really great stuff. Again, I like that we're doing this tonight as our staff. I'm sure they're all listening in, anticipating the start of school next week, but really setting that stage. And all of our schools can do the same thing for their data of where do we end, how much do we grow, and let's do it again, let's do it better.
Tom, can you track let's say a 5th grade and look at that group, let's say across the district or at a particular school, and see how they've performed on the iReady in the years that we've had that program?
Yes, we have at times. I think even last year we reported out like a cohort group.
Okay.
We know we have about a 12% mobility rate. So kids move out, kids move in. Right. Where are kids who started here and where they ended? We do that periodically, and we can certainly do, and I'll work with Corey and Tricia. We can we'll pick a grade and see, okay, these kids probably started about 600 kids. Maybe it's 450. Where did they start? Where did they go? My bet would be we'll see some really great data. But great question. Great. Yeah, we can do that. So again, we're really seeing great stuff over time, building from the start to where we end. Here's our English learner programs. Again, where we started, where we end, a lot of growth, cutting into those below grade level pieces and really just plugging away at that work. Another piece that iReady provides us is we look at typical growth and stretch growth. Typical growth is 1 year of growth, basically. So I started here. Did I make a year's growth? Stretch growth is obviously a little more. So this year we started at 37, a little behind from where we've been in the past, but ended the year at a similar level, actually made more growth from the winter to the spring. So that basically means 64% of our kids made at least a year's growth last year in reading. When we look at stretch growth, 33% of our kids made at least more than a year's growth over the course of the year. Stretch growth is so important because that's how we close that gap with kids who are below grade level. This hits the target iReady has of 25 to 35%, and our 64 hits the target iReady has of 40 to 60%. What's so cool about working with iReady is when they have 6, 7, 8 million kids in a database, and they say, this is what we see, here's the target, and we hit that target or exceed it, we're on track. This is math. Similar, we started a little less than we have the prior years. Got to the 60% piece, so we're really at the top of that scale, but a little less than what we've seen. Again, I think some of this is tied to the levels of proficiency as they grow. And then on the stretch growth side, we got to 29%. Again, a little bit more behind. But again, we're right in that range that we want to be. And then our final piece, we talk about intervention. This is a piece where I think, the board and the administration really should step back and go, wow, 4 years ago, we were getting to about 35% of the kids in math were getting intervention, 49% in reading, 65% in behavior. Revamped the system, hired more staff, restructured how resource allocation happens, and we're at this year 100% for behavior, 95 for reading, and 92 for math. It's really incredible that we're able to provide those supports and resources. I'll tell a quick story. This year, we visited all the elementary and junior high schools and the ELC to do a little celebration at the end of the year and provided some feedback to them. We visited one of our schools where the principal and the staff said, thank you for redoing this system, because in the past when it was even, we weren't able to meet most of our kids' needs. Now we have, and they clap for us. So it's kind of cool. It's actually a school just down the street. You might know which one that is. So this year we hit 5% for reading. Started the year, and this is what we normally see. You can see kind of that August to December, really get after it. Not that we don't get after it in the second half of the year, but things start to balance out. But we really look at the aggregate, and this year it's the most we've had in the last three years. A lot of that's due to the programs we put in place, the training, and really that allocation of staff. And then hit 5% also in math, which is pretty much in alignment with where we've been the last few years, and some nice progress. And that is where we're at. Again, the rest of the full report, I think it's 56 something slides, will go out with this board report. So any community member will be able to access all of the data we just shared, and then the full and complete report, which highlights a lot of additional data and gets a little more granular down to the school, the grade level, the program, by different levels.
Tom, does the full report include the prior year's spring results as well, right? I think I had asked for that.
It does not. The full report, really, the reports we've done focus on just the school year. I don't recall a request to include.
I thought I'd asked to see the previous spring 23, 24.
We can certainly put that together for the board and put it in the.
Just to see if we're better than we were last spring.
I get
right?
it. A future Friday update, probably not this Friday's update.
Okay, no. I thought I had asked and saw it at the time, but I haven't looked again. I have one other question on the intervention slide, intervention provision rates. Is
Yes.
behavior a new piece of this, or has that always been there?
It's, I think as far as reporting it,
Yeah,
we've really
reporting it.
started to report it just the last couple of years. Originally, it was
Okay.
just reading and math.
Mhm.
And then we went back and looked at those provision rates and really wanted to provide all three of our intervention systems for the board.
Now, I know that we're showing growth rates for intervention. Is there any way to see actual like grade level growth as a result of intervention? Is that like another type of report that can be run?
Off
To see
the
where
top
we
of my head-
started, where we
I'd have to work
landed?
with Dr. Ossel and Tricia Senni. I believe there was a report shared with the board, intervention report update earlier in the spring. I don't know if it included data down to the grade level.
I don't think it was broken down by grade level, but we do have that information and we study it regularly. So as we have these percentage point increases for provision and we have that percentile increase for students, we look at that percentile increase by intervention, by school, by grade level, and break it down in various ways. And our interventionists and our school staff will study that regularly throughout the year. So if there's a specific request for growth of students per grade level, I think we can pull that
Sure,
and have it
like
in a
for
Friday
next
update.
time, next time. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Looking forward, are students doing their fall iReady testing on Chromebooks versus the new tablets?
So the hope is that they will do it on the new tablets.
So after.
I'll look to Ben. Mr. Gray will answer that
Yes.
question.
So we will be using the tablets for the testing after this fall testing assessment window. The turnover was a little quick for students, so if that was the question when they are going to start using the tablets, they'll use that once they get to the winter testing.
So they're gonna test on their usual devices.
So
that they have.
I actually should clarify. So that's the buildings are going to make that decision based on what they feel is best for their transition over from the current devices to the tablets. So yes, some schools will just keep their current devices and then do the testing on the Chromebooks they had. If the school can accommodate that and works best for their staff and their planning, they'll do the deployment of the devices first and then do the assessment. The assessment window starts on Monday after the Thursday we start. So like at Ridge, they're doing the assessment window first and then doing the transition over to the devices.
I know that kids are really tech savvy, but do you worry at all about impact on scores based on like the transition over to new devices?
We'll certainly look at that, but from what we experienced in the evaluation in the spring, the engagement level of the students and being able to use the stylus, the student feedback for us just in regular iReady lessons was they felt that the stylus was more precise with them, how they would click and how they would interact. I'll go this way.
And it's the same assessment, so really outside of our kindergartners, most of our kids have gone through that type of assessment in the past, so they have the hang of it, just that the device might be different. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next item would be superintendent reports.
All right, I'll just go through some updates. This really captures all our summer work leading up to what we've been preparing for the start of the school year. So we've had a number of back to school events. So district-wide, we had 2 events held last week, Friday at John Jay and then Saturday at Oasis. And I believe Ms. Kitzinger, you were at both of those. Thank you for attending. And then Ms. Eddy, you were able to attend on the Saturday. They were amazing events that were very well attended. I think we increased our number of backpacks to 2,000 and we ran out. And we have a list of people still requesting supplies. So it was highly successful. A lot of people in attendance. Thank you to all of our community services and supports. Amazing job to our community outreach specialist team that really, this is one of their major events that they come back to the summer and really kick off for. There's a lot of work that you can imagine goes into it. Thank you to all of our schools who were represented and helped give out things for our students and our families. There's also kindergarten events that are hosted at each of the schools. So they have been busy welcoming their rising kindergartners at each of their schools. Even Brentwood was able to host it in one of their new kindergarten classrooms, which is really exciting. So those have been taking place. And then there's the school level back to school events that are hosted by the schools. In some are partnerships with PTOs. So those are awesome events that will take place during those first 3 days of next week. So those are school-based and really get the year off on the right foot. You may have seen our communications. So before the bell, I want to thank Rachel Jobski and Brandon in the back, who did an amazing job putting together some really clever and engaging different video messages. And thank you to the departments that participated, just to give a glimpse of all the work that happens in the district. Some people ask like, oh, how was your time off in the summer? To which our teams here all looking like, say, what time off? Because this really is their busiest time. So I was excited to highlight those pieces that happened before the bell. And then hopefully you've all seen yourselves highlighted on Meet the Board and that social media campaign, which I think has been receiving a lot of views online. So thank you for that opportunity and for getting your messages out there. I do want to provide an update. The State Board of Education announced this week from our state superintendent that we, as of July 28th, I believe, there is release of federal funds for our title grants. I know that Ms. Savage had provided an update over the summer about where we stood with our current last year's title grant allocations versus what we were expecting and allocated this year. So we are supposed to be anticipating the release of those funds in the coming days. So we are happy to see that improvement, which aligns well with what Mosen shared as well. From the associate superintendents, we are well underway with our professional learning. This was a very busy summer here at the ad building. Lots of sessions that took place and then still continue to take place with our new educator network. And then really gearing up for our opening institute day, which will be on August 12th next week. We have 35 different training sessions and collaboration sessions scheduled. So an exciting time around here. Thank you to everyone who's put in work to lead those sessions and to all our staff who will be welcome back next week. As we just talked about, fall benchmarking is underway already at Ridge, and it will open right away on August 18th for the rest of our district. And we are currently also, I believe Tom updated you in the spring, that IAR and ISA proficiency levels are going to be updated by the state board. So that you will see significant changes on our school report card, and we are awaiting what those proficiency levels look like and how those will be shared out to the public. So stay tuned for more information on that. You heard a wealth of information from business services, so not too much else to update you there on the budget. I will re-emphasize Mosen's message, which is just the caution of, mindfully watching our expenses and ensuring that all of these increased resources that we are able to provide are done with our fiscal responsibility in mind. Very excited to give updates on our facilities. We had an extensive HVAC replacement project at the ELC, and we have two of our ELC members out there in the audience who have lived through it so far, and we received full occupancy through our Regional Office of Education walkthrough today, so that is very good news. There is a part that we are waiting on that should be delivered either tomorrow or Friday to make the system run at full capacity, so that will be tested over the weekend to welcome back teachers in a hopefully fully air-conditioned building on Monday. The Brentwood renovation project, as Mosen also mentioned, we've spent a lot of time over there over the summer. We did the ROE walkthrough took place today. We received partial occupancy, which basically means that there's a few outstanding things that need to be taken care of. One is MWRD, the Water Reclamation District, in inspection, as well as some fire safety results and documentation and a plumbing documentation. We anticipate full occupancy to be okay, and all that we were released, all of the new areas, all of the renovated areas, all of the instructional spaces have been fully released to us. We anticipate substantial completion this Friday. And I want to say a big thank you to both our staff at ELC and to Brentwood, because they are undergoing major issues with having to come back to a building that has been touched and occupied throughout the summer. So we have, over the weekend, we will have Brentwood open for staff. We will have a team of custodial staff there to assist, to get boxes and classrooms back to their spaces that they need so that they have time to set up. So really appreciate the extra effort. Brentwood looks nothing like it did a very short time ago, and we are very excited to plan in the near future a ribbon cutting and open house opportunity for our board as well as our community to really highlight and showcase the amazing addition of the gym and the kindergarten spaces, as well as just the renovation. It really touched so many of our communal services locations within the building. So gym is completely new. Art and music are completely new renovated spaces. Our LRC is completely revamped and renovated. The furniture I saw going in yesterday, it looks absolutely beautiful. And a new staff lounge, just amazing work that was done in a short amount of time. So kudos, and we were on time and under budget. So that's always good to hear.
Terry, when can staff come in to set up their classrooms?
It's opening this weekend.
This
For
weekend?
Brentwood.
Okay, okay.
Curriculum and instruction. So kindergarten, we spent a lot of time last year talking about our kindergarten council and developing an action plan for reimagining kindergarten. So this will be year one of that work. They hosted some summer professional learning for our kindergarten teachers, as well as an opportunity for all kindergarten teachers to collaborate on August 14th for their return to school. I know we mentioned that math is in year 5. It seems kind of odd that we're counting that, but it is year 5 off of that plan. And we are in year 3 of literacy. So really excited about the work that's taking place with that focus, as you can see, on writing, grammar, and vocabulary, not just in our ELA classes, but really across all of our content areas, because we are all teachers of literacy. And physical education at the K-5 level is also under review for updates to their curriculum. And then we are continuing our articulation with District 214, which was highly successful last year. So those opportunities for our junior high math teachers to articulate with the high school district and other neighboring districts will continue this year. And we are going to have a stronger emphasis on algebra, which we really know is a gateway course into the high school and really can establish a strong indicator for success in future years. HR, talk about a busy season. So HR has been doing an amazing job, their entire team under Mr. Vittori's leadership. This week has been buzzing with one of my favorite groups of people, which is our new educators. So we welcomed over 50 new certified and support staff this week for onboarding. SLT got a chance to introduce ourselves and meet with them. A really exciting group of individuals that are very eager, and it took us all back to our first day of starting in this profession, and it's a very touching moment. So our 2 new Educator Network facilitators who are full-time this year really took a strong leadership role in leading this work. They also brought in our mentors to provide some orientation and training for them, and they are working directly with their teams. So really excited about this strong support system for all of our new educators, both ESPs and certified. And if you look, just an update on our overall fill rate for our open positions is at 98%. You can see the breakdown between the 2 groups. And any position that does not currently have that is not currently filled has a plan for how that will be supported for the start of the new year. Student services. So as I said, our community outreach team is very busy. They hit the ground running and really establishing those strong family connections as they always do. So we're glad to see them back. This year, we are going to have a very strong focus across all of our schools on student attendance. You will see a lot of intentional work and communication around supporting the importance of student attendance, not because it's a criteria on our school report cards, but because having students here is how we get them to learn. And so whatever we can do to help improve that and support families and our students to be in school is some of the targeted work we'll be doing with our building leadership team. Professional learning communities is our other area of focus along with literacy, year 3. So we are in year 2 working with PLC Plus. We also have some exciting opportunities to work with neighboring districts that are also using PLC Plus, so we can get some train the trainer and some economy of scale and save some district dollars. So excited about that work and welcoming back our lead activators for all of our grade levels. And then lastly, at our junior high, we rolled out last year Quaver Ready at the K-5 level for our social emotional learning resource. really positive feedback and response from students and staff and our families at our behavior intervention committee meeting. So we're very excited that they've now unveiled their junior high resource, and we'll be rolling that out for grades 6 through 8. And last but not least, a lot of what Ben already talked about in terms of those new devices and that preparation, they have done an amazing job as a team to receive a lot of pallets of devices, keyboards, styluses, unboxing, prepping all of them. It was quite the project. And thank you to Grove for letting us use their space this summer to stage all of that and then get those out into the buildings. Each of the buildings, as Ben mentioned, is really kind of owning their rollout and implementation model. And so the technology department is really supporting that, not only from a rollout perspective, but also from a professional learning perspective as well, with our 2 technology coaches, which is exciting. We increased from 1 to 2 this year. So they are busy working, really providing supports for staff and for our students, creating professional learning opportunities. And we wanted to give a shout out also to our communications department, just for really keeping families updated about all those changes that are taking place with those technology devices and resources and supports from a family level. And then last but not least, as the board knows, we offer a student device protection plan for our devices. As we have a new device with some new components, we are fine tuning what that kind of service model really looks like. Is it unlimited replacement of styluses? No, that will not be our model, but we want to look at something within reason that supports our families. And also at the board's request, we also looked at a tiered model to support families who need some financial assistance, so that we'll have 2 different tiers for payment options to support that protection plan for our families. And I believe that is it.
How much are the styluses just for personal budgeting?
They're $30.
Okay.
$29.99.
Yes.
Okay, any questions?
Just for the physical education review that you're having, I want to give a shout out to Salt Creek physical education teacher, Bo Phillips. He's by far the best I've ever been around. So I certainly hope that, you'll be able to get his expertise on how things work. He's involved in several different organizations. He's great with the kids, and I'm sad for the first time in over a decade, there's not a bookler that's going to have him in class. So he's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about the physical education, what's being updated to that.
I'm sure Bo is listening actually tonight, and so I'm sure he appreciates that shout out. And yes, and I have to say, we have an outstanding group of elementary PE teachers to work with, and they really collaborate and share those resources amongst each other, and a really good group of newer staff in that department as well. So they're bringing in fresh ideas. So I think it's a really exciting time. And with the expansion that we did 3 years ago to ensure that every child was getting it per the minimum of 3 times a week, I think it's really made a big difference.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda. We got items 7.01 through 7.05. If I could get a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? If not, can we have a roll call vote?
Notini,
Aye.
Chesney absent, Bookler,
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Eddie, I. Johnson.
Aye.
Kinziger.
Aye.
All right, motion's approved. Next is we have action items. So 8.01 is the adoption of the board policies from the press update 118 that we had last time. Is there anything of note other than just standard?
Nope, standard, and appreciate the support to get these updated because we are right about at the deadline.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the press updates as outlined?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Move to second. Any questions, comments? If not, can we have a roll call vote?
Bookler,
Aye.
Zach. Aye. Eddie, I. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini,
Aye.
Chesney absent.
Okay, 8.02. This is for, I know Dr. Bresnan sent out a communication on Friday. This will be her final year, and we will embark on searching for the next superintendent. So this is an approval of a search firm to help us with that work. Can I get a motion to approve BWP Partners as our search firm?
So moved.
I'll second.
Move to second. Any questions, comments? If not, can we have a roll call vote?
Zach.
Aye.
Eddie, I. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini.
Aye.
Chesney absent. Buckler.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Next, 8.03. This is the intergovernmental agreement updated for the SRO program with Elk Grove. If I could get a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any questions or discussion?
I just, I read through the whole IGA and I want to see if we could just make sure that there is data that kind of shows how often the second or for, whatever the SRO from Grove is at Friendship, but also at the elementary schools. And then also data on if they were planning on going to one of those schools and there was something that happened at Grove that did not allow them to go. And I know that we talked about that there's not necessarily a schedule, but there has to be some type of plan to be going to elementary and to Friendship because we have to follow this IGA. And if not, I believe it's a waste of money. We need to make sure that we are servicing everybody.
After this evening's vote, our next step will be to agree upon a schedule with the police department
Okay.
as part of the IGA, and that is written into the IGA. So Director Malik and I have been communicating about what that schedule would best look like, talking with the police department about it. We will finalize that, and I will then share that with the board. That would be the schedule, so you can see the rotation and how often officers are at what schools, unless, of course, there is incident that would take them away from one or
Right.
the
And we
other.
all know it happens. It's just to say that they can't have a schedule and it doesn't have to be set in stone, but there has to be something.
Absolutely. And in regards to displays, what is outlined in the IGA and agreed upon is no more than 5 hours per week spent at our display schools, which allows them to do the educational aspects, and the rest of the time would be in Elk Grove Village.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, roll call vote.
Eddie, I. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini.
Aye.
Chesney absent. Buckler.
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. No discussion items, Dan?
No, but if the board would indulge me, I have a statement I would like to
Sure.
read.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm ad-libbing here, so I appreciate that. So good evening, members of the board, our colleagues, and members of our community and our staff. As the board moves forward this evening with the decision to initiate the search for the next superintendent of District 59, I would like to take a moment to share a few personal reflections as I begin what will be my final year in this role. Serving as superintendent of this district has been an honor. To lead a community as diverse, dynamic, and passionate as District 59 is a responsibility I have never taken lightly. And I am reminded that to be the first female superintendent in the district's history, it added a layer of significance that I carried with deep respect. And I understood the weight of that distinction, and I hope that I met it each day with determination, integrity, and a fierce commitment to equity. My first year began in the shadow of COVID pandemic, a time of great uncertainty and disruption. But even then, our focus never wavered. We moved forward together, navigating complex challenges with clarity and purpose. When I was originally hired, what feels like many years ago, I was specifically asked to address equity issues and to improve curriculum, two areas that are at the heart of educational opportunity and that deeply align with my core values. And I believe we've done that. We have made Our curriculum, more aligned, rigorous, supportive, and reflective of our students. We have expanded our supports, we have engaged families, and we have ensured that more students have access to the resources that they need to succeed. Through collaborative leadership and some really difficult but honest conversations, we acknowledge the inequities that exist, and we took deliberate steps to address them. Under the direction of the board, I brought forward a recommendation to remove barriers, improve access, balance class sizes, and build the stability that is truly needed for students and staff to thrive. And while I fully admit that not all of those solutions came to fruition, we have continued that work internally. And the academic, social, and emotional growth that we see in our students today is a direct result of this sustained effort. And I think, Mr. Luloff, your presentation highlighted it perfectly. For a little bit of context, over the past 4+ years, I have had the opportunity to work with 16 different board members. Despite that, almost, I'll use your word, Mosen, very unique turnover, our leadership team has remained focused on the mission of serving every learner and aligned to the core values of our strategic plan. That consistency, amid a lot of other changes, was grounded in shared purpose and is something that I have truly deeply valued. Together, we have strengthened instructional systems, we've modernized facilities, we've improved communications. We have truly cultivated a district-wide culture of learning and continuous improvement. And most importantly, through it all, we have kept our students at the center. This leadership team I have been truly honored to work with, and their expertise and dedication to 59 is unparalleled. And I hope after I am gone that that remains. So, as the district begins the process of selecting new leadership, I just want to offer a little note of caution from someone who's been in this role to a team who is doing this for the very first time. The role of superintendent, it is not operational. It is foundational. It requires vision, stability, courage, and an unwavering belief in every child's potential. Leadership matters, and transitions, if not carefully managed, can disrupt the momentum that takes years to build. So I caution the district to proceed thoughtfully, as I know you will, with the long-term health of the district and the success of our students as your guideposts. This transition, it comes with the role, and it's a natural part of leadership. It is a time for me to reflect, to reset, and to plan ahead, as it is for the district. And I fully support the board's decision to begin this process with intention. And I want the district and community to know that I remain committed to ensuring a smooth and successful transition. To this board and to the many board members I've had the privilege to work alongside, thank you for the opportunity to serve. To our staff, to our families, and to our community, your commitment and collaboration have made this work meaningful and lasting. I am proud, truly, truly proud of what we have built together. So, as I enter this final year, my commitment remains strong. I will continue to lead with the same integrity and urgency and hope that brought me here in the first place. And when the time comes to hand that baton on to the next leader, I will do it with full confidence that the foundation that we have laid will support the continued success of District 59. So thank you all, and I am looking forward to a great year together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bresnahan. Next, we have our reports of the board committees. So the first is behavior intervention, school safety.
We just keep having all these meetings that we're approving things. So as we just approved the second SRO, but some things that I've done is I did do the back to school, as Dr. Bresnahan mentioned, at the Oasis. And this was actually my first time at the Oasis, and it was amazing. You know, parking was a little crazy, but besides that, you know, just all the families that were getting the backpacks, and, you know, I'm so grateful that we are in a community that has all this, you know, for us. And then I went to the John Jay Future Stars event, and I was able to go see inside the mobile, which was really neat. The rooms are huge, and I'm for music and for art. And, you know, they were actually going in today everything was approved, and they were going to set up today, and it's amazing. So.
Thank you. I will take the next. We have the board policy committee. We just updated or just approved the press updates. Insurance committee. I don't know, when do those start again? I don't know if you know. Ron used to run those. Ross, do you know?
We'll probably start
In the fall?
one in the August maybe.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry, Mosen. EdRed, no report. I have explicit instructions from Elva Kreitzer, who is the president of District 214, about the IASB. There are two events. One is like their quarterly meeting, which is being hosted at Forest View. And that is, what's the day? In October. So if she would like to see all of us there. So if you can make it, you should have just got an email today about it, and we sign up October 22nd. Sign up through Maribel if we want to do that. So reach out to Maribel. And then there is for newer school board members, there's like in mid-September, a retreat where you can get like the download on a lot of stuff about being a new board member. So if you'd like to see, anybody can go to it, but especially if you're newer, which we're all pretty new.
It's on Saturday.
Correct, right. And that is it for me. Next, we have curriculum and assessment committee, and Sarah, you have a couple of them. Wellness Committee and the Education Foundation.
Yeah, nothing new. I just want to give a shout out to D59 Foundation for all of their support of our backpack event every year, and all of our community partners. It really is a sight to see. In June, though, Nicole and I visited summer school, our summer school programs, ESY and Summer Leap. Thank you to all the staff who welcomed us, and especially Leah Marvacek, Jill Doles, Phil Deepa, Nicole Robinson, Elizabeth Degree, and of course, Tom Ludloff. I won't go into too much detail. I think we will probably see a summer school presentation next month, but we saw a variety of programming, including standard reading and math, ELS, dual language, orchestra, wrestling, and video production. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of the summer school staff for welcoming us and working additional time this summer to make sure that all of our kids are ready for the coming year.
Can I butt in on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. It was so wonderful being able to go see summer school. I love it so much. I was very excited to see Varsity Tutors in action over the summer. Very structured, and it was great to see. And then also I loved all of the enrichment courses that the junior high offered over the summer that Sarah mentioned too. They had a Canva class that my kid loved a ton, orchestra, band, sports camps, journalism, art, music, financial literacy, which is wonderful. Like, we all need a little bit of that. And they had like a kid flicks class, and we got to watch a video that a kid made like in still motion, but then they made it, I don't know what it is because I have no idea, but it was very cool. So I'm glad we got to do that. Yeah.
Nikki, Nicole, and I also attended Ridge's beginning of the school year bash on the 23rd of July. They're already back. FTO, they're dedicated its new Gaga Ball pit, and we got to be there for the ribbon cutting ceremony, which was very exciting. So thank you to Cassie Sears, Dawn Belo, Mindy Larkin, Athena Cathlet, Katie Hackett, and also our administrators who were there, Ben Gray and Albert Tierna. And I also wanted to take a moment to echo Dr. Bresnahan's shout out to Rachel Jobski and her team for putting out some great social media posts this summer to keep our community aware of all the work that's happening behind the scenes to get the school year off on the right foot. Those are really great for our community to see. So thank you very much.
I don't think you have one, so do you have anything else, Nicole?
Yeah, I do have other
Okay.
things. Also wanted to echo about the Gaga Ball Pit. Super excited for the community to have that over at Ridge. Now we have two, I think, in the district, right? Two Gaga Ball Pits. Bird and Ridge, right? So super fun. Game that apparently is very popular these days. And then what else do I have? Oh, the back to school events. They were so cool. First year being able to attend. So many happy families, so many excited kids to get new backpacks and, you know, school supplies, and a lot of community partners giving out swag. We all love swag. What else? Oh, this Saturday is Heritage Fest at the Arlington Heights Historical Museum. I will not be able to attend because I have something else going on, but last year I went with my kids. Sarah came with her daughter. Both kids? I don't remember. And Michelle also. It was so fun. They had great live music, dancing. They had stuff that you could buy, but it's free attendant. Like, you can go in there for free and just do all the free things.
Is that the celebration of cultures that you're talking about?
Yeah, is that what I said?
Oh, and there's two different ones.
Oh, this is
I didn't
Heritage
talk about
Fest.
some of them.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah, Heritage
Oh,
Fest. is
Heritage
this weekend.
Fest.
That's the Arlington Heights
Yes.
one. The celebration of cultures is August 23rd.
Oh,
and
okay,
that's
great.
Mount Prospect.
Okay, great.
I'll
Well,
talk a little
two
bit
great
more
free
about
events. Love that. Okay, great. So this weekend is Heritage Fest, and that's in Arlington Heights. What else?
Is the Heritage Fest, is that where the farmer's market is in Arlington Heights? That,
By the Historical
by the
Museum?
Historical Museum, yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's right, by the
Yep.
library right across there, okay.
Is anyone able to go from the board? I'm not able to go. Is anybody? Yeah, I know. It's a rough. We're all doing our
I
end of
should be able to
summer.
stop by.
Oh, you can? Oh, that'd be great.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have. Good, thank you.
Okay, Ryan, do you have anything?
Again, the feedback from the community regarding our District 59 communication, Rachel, Brandon has been excellent. I've heard from quite a few people, so thank you for that. I know right now is an uneasy time for our incoming sixth graders, worried about the lockers, and anytime you experience something new. Our staff has done, as I mentioned at the last board meeting, a fantastic job of trying to acclimate kids to that. They had a day where they could go to their junior high. They had a night in the spring. And I know Grove on Friday, they've got their orientation from 8:30 to 11 for sixth grade orientation. And then Tuesday, August 12th, they've got locker night and meet the teacher 4:30 to 6. And I've got a daughter that's going in the sixth grade, and I've got a son that's going in the seventh grade. And I know my son and his friends, they absolutely love Grove. They talk very positively about it. The teachers are incredibly caring. They do a great job of making them feel welcome. My seventh grader, Ethan, want to give a shout out to Mrs. Klein, Mrs. Rodriguez, and Mrs. Luxmore. So thank you to the Grove staff, and thank you to all our junior highs for working hard to get our sixth grade ready.
Thank you. Lucas has NSSEO. He's actually not here tonight because he's at an NSSEO meeting. So we can skip over that one. And then finance facilities, Michelle?
Sure. Yeah, we were considering having a finance and facilities committee meeting tonight. We ended up not doing that, although Mosen did hand me this fabulous new budget reporting that he's put together. So, and that was really all I wanted to talk about. So glad to see that we, have some more comprehensive budget reporting. How often do we expect to receive this? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Mosen, but.
That's okay. I have the copy for every board member.
Oh, great.
And this is really going to replace the monthly board report. So it's a monthly board report.
Monthly, okay.
And the purpose is to provide you with the information, at the same time be more productive and use the technology to do it rather than do it manually.
Sure. No, thank you very much for that. And just to talk about what I haven't been doing much, but we are proud to announce that District 59 will have a table, a space at the Celebration of Cultures event, which is a 7th annual event that Mount Prospect puts on to celebrate the diversity of our community. It has live entertainment. It has, student performance or child performances. I don't know that they're I mean, I'm guessing there's students somewhere. And most importantly, there are booths for different countries where they're represented, and there's information and activities for students. So we will have a table. Lucas and I will attend. We are all welcome to attend, and any staff is welcome to attend. So very excited to be a part of this important event.
Okay, thank you. Last, we have the Long Range Planning Committee. Kind of falling under this, I wanted to bring up the work that a lot of the district team has been doing with Perry about updating the strategic plan. So we need to put on the calendar, it would be a public meeting, but it'd be for the board to attend with Perry. Obviously, anybody could go, but it wouldn't be like in a forum like this. It would probably be in one of the breakout rooms. So I don't know if we want to stick to a Wednesday later in August. I know, what's the last Wednesday in August, I think, is the 27th. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you said it did,
I'm
but
pretty sure it does, but I just wanted
Sarah? Okay, that's okay.
to. The 27th.
Yeah, okay.
That should be fine.
And then for that, 6 o'clock start would be
6 o'clock?
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I will let him know, and then I will let you and Maribel know, so we can get. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure with him first, and then, yeah, I'll copy you.
I was going to say real quick before we move on from committees, communications is not on here. I'm hoping that next month we can just bookmark to like select schools for adopt a school. September. Does that work?
Okay.
For sure. And if we, just to add on to that, because Lucas and I are kind of representatives, if that's a communications thing. One of the things we talked about was connecting with the PTOs at each school. I wonder if that would be a good way to start. Well, first we got to select a school, but just wondering if that could be a good way to just get started. Because, because PTOs are the center of everything, or FTOs, right? And that way we can, I just think that would be a nice introduction to just, if we could attend their next meeting, just not the whole thing, just, be there to, talk about what they want to talk about, and we can maybe have, some dialogue as well. But yeah, Lucas and/or I will put together some kind of schedule for us to start selecting our schools.
Very well, could we do one more, like a 10-point, maybe put the communications committee updates move it to like 10.10 between Lucas and Michelle, and then slide the other ones down. Okay.
And also, is there a way that we could announce that District 59 will be at the Celebration of Cultures event? Is there a way it could be in our social media or some other type of announcement?
It's on our website, and we included it in the last digital district newsletter, but we have a digital district newsletter going out next week as well. And within the upcoming event section, we can just make a little note on in the same section of the other key dates that pertain to our district.
Sure. Are we able, though, to kind of advertise an event that's not ours? Is that even allowed, like in our Facebook posts or our Twitter?
It depends. It has to meet certain requirements. So I can always work with the team at Mount Prospect as soon as possible, but I also just want to look ahead at our social plans, because we map out our content all past December. So I want to make sure it makes sense. So let us take a closer look at that over the next few days, and we can share more.
Sure. I just think it would be a great way, because it's not just, certainly the board, we want to have a presence there and connect with our community, but we also really want our students to attend the event, especially because it's right in the middle of the Frost, Devonshire, Brentwood friendship community, just to see, to see it pop up there, and just to say we will be there, District 59 will be there. I think that'd be great.
We also just want to be cognizant that if we kind of showcase one of those with one municipality, we do it for all the rest. So we just kind of have to look.
Sure. If we can keep doing it. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we always want to have that eye for.
Yeah. Isn't this the first time we're doing something like this, though, or?
For the booth at the.
A booth at yeah.
Yes, to my understanding.
I mean, we did it several years ago, like when it first started, because I remember stopping by, but So hopefully, we can just start now.
Yeah, we can look ahead at that. Let us regroup and look at our content calendar.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anything informational? Okay, if not, I just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Just double checking, we're not going closed session.
Right.
We're just moving on. Okay.
We got a motion? Who motioned? Sorry.
I did.
Okay, second?
A second.
Okay.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kitzinger,
Aye.
Notini. Aye. Chesney, absent. Bookler.
Aye.
Zach. Aye. Eddie, aye.
All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.